is up, guys? How you guys doing? So it's Angelo back again, and we are here for another agent office hour. So this one's going to be great. We're going to check out inspections, right? So you'll notice I got a different little setup here. I'm going to try something new. So if anything comes out wonky, guys, you guys got to let me know. Hopefully this comes out more crisp. That's what we're hoping, crisp. I'm a fan of ASMR, right? So, might accidentally do that. So let me just pull this up. Amazing, amazing, amazing. We had a tremendous investor in our community end up letting us be able to review their inspection. Okay, so give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna turn this off just because I seen something that needs to be corrected. Hey, what's up? How you doing, Senya? Nice. How is it over there in New York, man? I hope everything's going well. Really do. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna correct. Aha, there we go. Set the scenery, man. I got to set the scenery. So let's talk about this tremendous. Hey, what's up, Adam? We're going to talk about inspections today. So, like I said, tremendous. Hey, what's up, Kim? So, tremendous investor allowed us to be able to look at this. So let's see if I can present here. There we go. There we go. Screen sharing and report. All right, guys, so check this out. Ooh, let's see if we can get it here. And I'll add myself to the bottom here. So this is Pillar to Post. I love Pillar to Post. They are a tremendous group. I always advocate for a bunch of different groups. Win Home Inspections is tremendous. You got Pillar to Post. You got Hawks Inspection. You got a bunch of different groups that are just killing it out here. Well, so this inspection report, we're going to go line by line and kind of check out what you guys are going to normally see on these Gary, Indiana houses. Senya, you already purchased a house, man. You understand what kind of issues come aboard, right? So, let's check it out. So this one was on 2939 West 10th. Okay, let us get into it. So all of them kind of start out like this, where it's going to give you a summary of what the issues are with the property, right? And I love the summary because the summary is going to tell you a quick gist of what the issues are. It's going to be bam, 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 bam. You don't necessarily have to read through the entire thing. I'd recommend it, but you'll know pretty much up front. So with this one specifically, it looks like there was some missing or damaging faucets and fascia. I'm sorry, soffits and fascia, and evidence of wood damaging and water infiltration. So what are we looking for here? This is what I recommend you look for. As an investor's agent, I'm looking for the big five, right? The big five include your foundation, your structure, your roof, your electrical, and your plumbing. If it's one of those five, I'm definitely going to pay attention to it because that's a big ticket item. They call those major defects. Major defects are things that adversely affect the property's value and actually bring it down. Because we all know foundation can be 20, 30 grand plus, structure, I mean, the structure of the house is the whole reason you're buying it, right? If it's not stable, that's a whole issue. And then obviously, roof, plumbing, and electrical can be big ticket items. So let's keep looking. Let's see if we can find anything that could be an issue. And then, so check this out, right? Hey, not trying to scare you guys, right? But there was a bullet lodged in the roof of the material. Isn't that amazing? There was a hole from a bullet someone shot up in the air, what can you say? It is what it is. There's always going to be violence. There's always going to be low economic areas that are, restricted on resources. So people tend to turn to violence. So, this, I don't necessarily know what kind of happened here. We just know there's a bullet, obviously, in the roof. So let's keep going here. Attic access, unable to access the hatch due to cabinets and installed over the pull down. Man, you guys are really going to know how well I read right now. Structure, due to major structural concerns with the garage and the storage items within the garage, within The garage was unable to be accessed. Recommend full evaluation of the garage to determine extent of repairs to return building to the usable space. So I remember this one. This one was really jacked up. I'm saying it was doing the like that lean. You know what I mean? Like if it was a car, it'd be like a chow. But that one I'm definitely recommending you get rid of it. You don't deal with it. And oh snap, Cindy, you're saying that there was a bullet hole in one of the doors that you bought? Yeah, you got it. It was that one of them out here in Gary. Let us know. But so we're moving through this. We know the garage is completely unacceptable. And let me see if I might even be able to pull up a Google Earth image, and that'll be entertaining. You know what? That's gonna take too long. But just know that house that garage was slanting. It was doing that little, that gangster lean, or they call it. All right, so we're gonna keep going, right? Electrical system. No main disconnect was identified to the electrical panel. Recommend further evaluation by electrician. Something to know if you're doing an independent inspection, which, to be honest with you, these type of Gary houses, I'm not necessarily going to recommend you do a independent inspection. Most of the time, I'm recommending you go in as is. Why? Because those as is addendums are actually advocates, like supportive documents for the buyers, right? A lot of people think, oh, I'm helping the seller out, and yeah, they love it. But what are really the benefits, right? The benefits of those as is are the seller doesn't have to worry about you doing a repair. They don't have to worry about you doing a buyer's credit or trying to renegotiate, right? I say that loosely because us as agents, we know that we do it anyways. Not, I guess I should say, it can be used as a investment strategy. And then, what are the benefits for the buyer? Those are really the two major benefits for the seller is that they're not going to waste time. It's going to be, no repairs on the seller, and don't worry about buyer's credits or any type of price change. What about the buyer? Now, the buyer, first, right off the rip, any undisclosed defects or any undisclosed how do I say it? Any undisclosed issues with the property, I should say. Defects is a strong word. It's itemized in the amendment, but it's very arguable because they're not necessarily major defects. What does defect mean? It's anything that could cause issue with the property in lowering its value. So, I mean, that can be an array. Technically, if you don't got your outlets correct, I mean, technically, that can be a repair that's going to cost you money, which is going to be not what you originally anticipated on the price of the house. So, I mean, it's a vague area, right? Now, with the as is, right, for the buyer, you're being able to, right off the rip, know any undisclosed defects, you can exit the transaction and get your earnest money back. It's almost like a guarantee. It's a way out. The sellers can't say anything to you. You either, they famously call it a take it or leave it scenario, where you are going into this, you are saying, hey, I'm going to, do as is. I get my inspection back. I don't like it. I'm out of here. Give me my earnest money. You can't argue anything. Bye. Or what most often happens, truthfully, is that we're like, hey, these came back. These are some issues. We're going to get out of here. Before we get out of here, you guys have anything to say? Oftentimes the sellers are like, yeah, okay. I guess let's, I can toss you some change toward that, or, wait, well, hold on, let's talk about what are the issues, those as is can be beneficial for you. Anyways, let's continue on. So receptacles, three prongs. Three prongs is a pretty common issue I find in a lot of the older homes in Gary. The reason I say three prongs isn't the problem. It's the two prongs. Two prongs are on a different electrical system. It's an older grade. I'm no electrician, right? But I'm just saying it's a older electrical system. Usually there's a concern when you go to change it out for one of those GFCIs because even though you're changing it to a three prong with a GFCI and that is up to code, you have to have that the sticker on there saying that it is not grounded because liability says you switch that out for the GCIFs or the GFCIs that everybody's recommending you do. Someone plugs it in, plugs their TV, it burns it to a crisp because there's no ground. That's your liability as a landlord. That's your liability as an owner. So, some things to watch out for there. All right, heating and cooling, right? Everybody knows that famous, furnace, famous furnace. There we go. Okay, so it looks like the furnace is currently being powered by a plug in the wall rather than a permanent wiring. Yeah, you know. So Kim, you're saying what are some immediate walk away scenarios you've seen in Gary? Are there any, or most things can be discussed or resolved? So good question, right? You get the inspection report back. I look for the first five, right? Structure, foundation, roof, plumbing, electrical. Let's say we get an inspection back and it's saying, you know, it's saying, hey, there are there is a tremendous I'm trying to think of something more dramatic, that would be an instant walk away. Let's say, for example, that there are um, damage to the foundation. That's probably the simplest one to go with. Damage to the foundation, you know, let's say that there are cracks. Let's say that there are, blocks that are falling inward. Let's say that when you go and you view the property, you don't see any issues, right? You went in there, this actually happened to me. You go in there, you look, you're like, hey, everything looks great. Basement's finished, it looks beautiful. Inspection comes. Come to find out, the reason the basement was finished is because they were hiding the fact that the foundation was all jacked up. Inspector did his job. Shout out to him. And he essentially went underneath the deck and the balcony and all of that jazz to be able to see directly to the foundation, seeing that there was a foundation bowing inward from, usually it's from water that's not properly ran off. So it'll create like almost like a ravine or some type of a following that goes along the house, right? And because of that, it shifts dirt, it adds pressure, and eventually the foundation starts to be pushed. As the foundation gets pushed in, all of the blocks get pushed in. As the foundation gets pushed in, the structure gets pushed outward. So when he had found that, apparently when it was being pushed in, it put a lot of pressure into the foundation, cracked it up a good amount, ended up separating a good amount of it. And we ended up walking away because we asked them to do the repair. The repair was $20,000, $25,000. They were saying no. And on top of it, they hit it. You finished a basement and like you're trying to hide. You know what I mean? It's like you'd be surprised. A lot of people do that. So beware of those finished basements. I almost rather see something that's unfinished, or maybe they put like the epoxy and painted the ceilings in the basement, but it's happened quite often. I've had quite a few investors that I even worked with that tried to do that. And I'm like, dude, come on. I'm not trying to be associated to someone trying to, hide and manipulate people. So that I would say was probably one that ended up being an instant walk away the second we seen that. Let's see here. So plumbing. Looks like main water main shutoff was unable to be located in the home. And toilet was leaking and loose. I mean, that's kind of an easy fix, right? I mean, you don't necessarily want to kill these people when you're trying to do your inspection response. Um, One thing that agents do a lot, especially for investors, is that if they want to get, um, how do I say, like out of a contract, right? Say we didn't go as is, we went independent inspection. This is a really good, a neat trick that a lot of agents do. They'll go into these inspections. They'll go in independent, right? I probably should identify that it's independent inspection, which means you're probably going to ask for them to do repairs. You're probably going to have a standard inspection, and they have to grant you all of the accesses and whatnot. Keep the power on, water, all that jazz. So, man, I got like thrown off. Where am I? So yeah, I mean, what we'll do is you tell me, hey, I feel like I'm paying too much for this, or hey, I want to get out of this. Well, we're going in independent inspection. We got to give them an opportunity to remedy. How do we get out of it to make sure we get you your earnest money back? Because they're going to argue the second we say, hey, you know what, we're good. We don't want the house no more. It's like, hold on, you signed this agreement that says that it's got to be like some type of major legal cause or a major defect or some substantial reason as to why you can't perform because you promised in the beginning you would perform. Or else that earnest money is going to be the seller's. So, what I would do is, what a lot of agents tend to do is that you itemize a million different things on the inspection report, right? Loose toilet, hey, fix this. Loose, a plug undone, fix that one. And I mean, obviously, when they see a list of, 300 repairs, they're going to be like, okay, well, your choice is either do it or don't do it, and then let us out of the contract. And, that's pretty common. So, anyways, the thing I tell people is no house is going to be perfect, especially when you're in investing and especially when you're looking at those low economic areas. Be on a um, almost like an 80-20, right? Does it serve its purpose? Can you get the money out of it? Can you hit the margins that you want with the standard that comes with it, right? The estimates of the repair or the location, all of those things, right? If you got some things that aren't working, take for example a multi-unit. I've had it before where a multi-unit fit right in this guy's budget. Everything worked out. It was, it was bringing in the correct cash flow for him specifically. And he was like, no, I can't do it. They're not going to do these repairs. And it was like a circuit breaker in one of the outlets. And I told him, I was like, okay, how much do you think that this, this repair is going to be? Few like $800, maybe. I don't know, maybe. And I was telling him, okay, even if it's, maybe a more substantial amount, you have a fourplex here. I think it was a fourplex. And I was like, this is going on in one of the units, and the other three, it fits in your margin, it fits in your numbers. You're able to get this property, start cash flowing, and pay for that repair or pay for that issue. I was like, why would you sacrifice being able to go through with a deal just because they won't do what you say? I was like, I wouldn't I wouldn't make that decision. I would definitely consider, is this the original purpose I seeked out for? And he ended up closing on it. So anyways, the following window were binding and open. So let's see here. The following window were binding and open, and the windows had broken glass. Should have, yeah, of course. I mean, there's going to be windows that are broken all the time. So let's move on. General information. The house will be evaluated with the conditions present at the time of the inspection. Review the seller's disclosure to determine if there are any known conditions. The inspector will generally not be provided by a company. I'm sorry, will not provide a copy of these disclosed. So yeah, I mean, it's just saying, obviously, it's really common, like somebody like a seller will get an inspection and they won't want to give it out, right? Their responsibility is, if I hand you this inspection and there's a bunch of issues on it, now you have to update your seller's disclosure. How many people really do that? Very, very few. Um, so it's unfortunate. If people were honest, if maybe agents were on top of them, I've been able to catch people in certain situations. There was a situation one time where um, we were purchasing on a property that was under contract at one point. It was, I believe it was a water softener, right? So we're checking into the water softener to see if there was any issues. Um, Apparently, it came back on the inspection report, and we had some concerns about it. They're like, no, 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 no. There's no issues with this. It works perfectly fine. And I was like, you don't got a warranty or anything like that. They're like, nah. And so obviously, there's a contact person on the water heater oftentimes. So I just, made sure to take a picture when I was going through, and ended up contacting that company. Company ends up saying, "Oh yeah, I know Mr. Smith." And let's see here real quick. So I know Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith came by our came by our office, a couple months ago about a water heater issue he had, and I'm like, oh shit, really? Yeah, no, that okay. So I had one of them email me on it, and essentially got proof that they had known about it. That proof was able to be um, that proof was able to be a substantial turning point for our property because we proved that they were wrong. We, put a little bit of pressure on them and said, "Hey, you lied to us. We got proof that you lied to us. Now you're in hot water." We always play that you're in hot water type game. They're like, "Oh, okay, okay. We'll drop it such and such amount." Okay, cool. Now I'm not trying to like push people hard, right? But at the same time, you're trying to get a good deal for yourself, right? So just things to be mindful of. Let's see here. Front entry faces north. See if we can find anything actually substantial. I mean, just pretty much some smaller stuff. I will tell you this person we got them a tremendous deal on this. I remember what happened. We were I want to say we were it was listed at 70,000 and we sold it or we closed it at $55,000 and a home warranty in place. Plus they did repairs. So it's a pretty good deal for Lindsay. And what had happened was I want to say that you know, I'm not to I'm not picking on any specific, person as far as, the people in the industry, but some people, they press pressure and sometimes that can be an easy way to kind of get tripped up, right? I have no problem letting someone take the reins, and it kind of that's what ended up happening is that we were able to find little mistakes in what they were doing. Essentially, they said they had certain things fixed. I would prove that they weren't fixed, and I'm trying to be careful of what I'm saying here because I'm not trying to bring up anybody specific, but that's essentially what happened is that we were able to say, "Hey, I thought that this was going to be okay. You advertised it that it was going to be okay. It wasn't okay, so we're going to need some type of and repair, right?" Now that we have this, we have concerns. We're worried. Home warranty. Okay, we're getting close. We're pretty much there. I want to say that right before we were about to close, we pushed one more time, and that's how we were able to get it down to the 55,000, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, this was a while ago. It's probably like 2 years ago, I think, maybe a year and a half ago. Our inspection reports. Hey, Kim. Hey, our inspection reports typically shared between interested parties in Indiana. In Oregon, they're not, but in California, they're required to be shared with the next interested buyer. That is a very good question. I think that that's really, really smart of them. Over in California, no, in Indiana, there's no requirement. So, I was kind of saying this before a little bit earlier, um, that if we were to get into a contract, we give them the inspection report. We say, hey, we don't no longer want this house. We're going to give you the inspection report to prove why we don't want this house. Are you willing to do anything? No. Okay, we're out. What they're supposed to do is supposed to update their seller's disclosure. Excuse me. Seller's disclosure itemizes all of the issues that are going to be with the property, all of the knowledge that the seller knows on the property, and um, essentially it'll let you know ahead of time. You're supposed to also put it with the listing, so your agent can provide that to you before you even place an offer. Do agents actually do that? Not really. I mean, unfortunately, the myself, I will say myself, I do. I think it's an ethical issue. I think that if you're not being consistent, you can get a very bad rap in the industry. So, um, I definitely do that. The problem is, not everybody wants it to be known, right? I even had one time an attorney advise the client, "Hey, it's just hearsay. There's no way that they could know that this other person got an inspection and that they got a report unless they admitted it, or they talked to them and gave them permission of the report or something like that." But for right now, that's actually what he said. He was like, "It's just hearsay," and so we ended up finding out later there was a report. Anyways, so to answer your question, no, they don't have to provide a seller inspection report, but they should provide an updated seller's disclosure that lets you know what was on the inspection report. Um, so yeah, yeah. Hey, see you later, Kim. All right, so let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Um, let's see here. All right. So definitely looks like there's some work that needs to be done around the window. Looks like no gutters. Yep. So definitely some work needing to be done. Other than surface damage. Okay, so this one's good. So it looks like asphalt shingles. You know, it's funny. I know all around the country, there's different types of roofs, and essentially, I mean, these specific ones, asphalt singles, I can't say if they're very common or not. I mean, I would say possibly, but usually it's just your standard. I mean, actually, that's a good question. I'm definitely gonna have to look into it. To be honest with you, I don't know. I know that other areas will have those clay, like clay porcelain type things. Flat roofs are very common in other areas, but yeah, I mean, you're gonna have your standards shinglings over here. 20 to 25 years. 20 to 25 years life cycle. So, it looks like this is toward the end of its life cycle. Uh, Replacement in 15 to 20 years. Let's see here. So standard asphalt shingles are commonly designed for 20 to 25 years life cycle. Standard asphalt roof insulation are due for replacement in 15 to 20-year range. Um, while some may last longer. Let's see. What did you think? Did you think it was too old? Okay, so it's saying that shingles performance and wear patterns cannot be predicted or guaranteed to last through an entire expected useful life. I mean, I guess that's vague. You know what I mean? So I guess essentially he's saying, hey, I'm not saying no issues, but I can't really tell what age it is. So this is where he starts to look. I believe he take a picture of the bullet hole actually. So exposed nail heads were noted in multiple locations. Not really that big of a deal. Ah, there we go. The bullet hole. Where are you at? Probably one. Oh, right there, the little blue one. There you go. Very common thing here. All right, so a lot of them back in the day, they would use a lot of the tar and just black tar, and they would cake around the chimneys and chimneys, right? And essentially, that's how they sealed it. Now we use metal fastenings, right? We put these metal things that line up right against the chimney, and it keeps the water from running off. It's very protective because it's almost like the shingling; they're on top of each other. Problem with those tar ones, they're very good, quick fix, but over time, it's going to end up cracking, expanding, cold. We get lake effect snow, a bunch of different things. And that actually brings me to another great point. So in Chicago or in Northwest Indiana, and especially Gary area, one of the most common issues that you're going to find is going to be humidity, which I guess is for most areas. You're going to see, people not having their runoff properly. We get lake effect snow, so a lot of issues are going to come from, the attic because back in the 50s when a lot of these houses were created, they didn't have enough ventilation systems or what they call points of termination. So, like when you're taking a shower, uh, hey, what's up, Chris? Do you typically like to present for inspections to ensure inspector spends an appropriate amount of time to inspect properly? Sometimes I do. It definitely depends. It definitely depends on your relationship. I think that I have good relationships with quite a few inspectors. Now, again, as an agent, I'm not supposed to say who I prefer, but oftentimes, the people that I refer, at least the 2 to 3 people, I end up having a pretty good relationship with, and it's trust, right? Um, do I go to inspections and make sure that they spend the proper time? Yes, not all the time. I think if I know that I have a client that's more concerned than most, right? Because, everybody's different. If I have an investor that's more concerned than most, I'm going to go there to really get their opinion because this a bit of something that you can be a little bit more nervous about, right? You don't know how to respond in those cases because you weren't actually there. You didn't know what they're going to say. And some people, they're just nervous people, so they hit you with 100 questions, and you're like trying to read through this, trying to do your best to be able to reciprocate. So yeah, in a situation, depending on the client, I will go to the inspections. My sister closed on a Chesterton house back a few months ago. I went to that inspection, make sure everything was okay. But for most of them, not really. No. Most of the time, they'll tell me on the phone, the inspector, "Hey, this was the concerns. Overall, I don't think the house is that bad, or overall, the house probably needs a substantial amount of work. I'd watch it, make sure we're probably looking at such and such margins." Great thing about pillar to post, actually. Let me lead into that. The great thing about pillar to post is that they have a cost guide. Cost guide can end up giving you enough information to generalize how much everything's going to be. So let's see here. No downspouts. Let's see. Unable to access the hatch due to the cabinet installed over the pull down ladder. Well, you know, this is funny because like sometimes a lot of people will essentially a lot of people will do certain things like maybe they put uh, a shelving in the spot where you're supposed to open up your electrical panel. Happens all the time. People use those little areas as like cooking pantries and stuff like that. So um, this is unfortunate. If this was my client or this was my client, I'd probably want to double check her specifically. I believe that she was like wanting to just go through it. We're fine. We don't necessarily have to focus. If someone tells me something like that, I'm not necessarily going to be like, you know, maybe you should double check. Don't get me wrong. I want you to be able to meet any requirements you are, but everybody has their own perspectives on what they think is right and wrong. So you tell me, hey, that's fine. I want to get this closed. Okay. You know. So let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Ah, here we go. Here's a picture of the garage. You see that lean? So yeah, no, that thing was done for. Okay. Um, yeah, and then I also mentioned to you guys earlier, a lot of people don't put the proper runoff, creates like the water little valleys around the house, puts a lot of pressure onto the foundations, ends up blowing the walls out. You get like these blown up muffin houses. It's kind of funny. But, you know, eventually it's kind of, maybe it's not funny. It's, ends up being somebody's house at the end of the day. But let's see here. Any other issues? Oh yeah, no, this one was one of the things I think we had them repair. No main disconnect. So if you look at this closely, right, and maybe I can zoom in a little bit. What do you see that's missing? What's missing is a main shutoff. There's no way to like turn it off on a main switch. So we were like, oh no, yeah, that definitely needs to be added in there. Maybe some people don't care about that, but I personally was like, yeah, that definitely, we both agreed that that should probably be in there. So we had them add pop out one of these and turn it into a main shutoff. Just letting us know that one of the three prongs was ungrounded. They probably switched it out. Yeah, and I said it earlier. If you guys ever run into two prongs, have your contractor, talk to them and be like, hey, I heard that you can possibly switch it out for GCIFs. It's a very common practice. Problem is, a lot of people don't add that sticker. The electrical sticker saying that it is not grounded is so important because if someone plugs something in, ends up frying the whole system. Like somebody plugs in a TV thinking it's going to work, might fry their TV. Could be a liability. So, that's a quick fix. It's a lot cheaper than rewiring the entire house. So, all right, so let's check out this furnace here. All right, so Estimated useful life of the of the furnace is about 15 to 20. Let's see. Not determine hairline cracks or defects in the heat exchangers. All right. So overall, see if he recommended. Yeah, I don't see him recommending repair here. Currently powered by a plug in the wall rather than a permanent wiring. Recommend installing permanent wiring to ensure overall safety. It's one of those things. It's like, is that something that you would want to replace just because the inspector recommended it? Their job is to recommend or to identify every single nook and cranny. Do you really have to do it? Depends on you and what kind of investor you want to be. Some investors, they're like, hey, this is fine, it works great, it shouldn't cause an issue. Some, they want to have a very high standard, and that's not a problem. So let's check it out more. So sorry if I'm being like real monotone, guys. You know what? I should probably get like more into it. I'm just kind of trying to go over the gist of the inspections and what you'll often see. Normally I know I'm like upbeat and don't mean to be so much of a downer. All right, so let's see here. Any other issues? Meter shut off, not located. Main shutoff water was unable to be located within the home. Recommend inquiring with homeowners on locations of water main shutoff valve or water main shutoff for maintenance and emergencies. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of those big things. I don't remember if we had. Let's see. Main water shutoff was unable to be located within home. Recommend inquiring with homeowners as to the location. I don't remember what we did about this. To be honest with you, I don't remember if this was one of the things that we had them fix. I would imagine so. This is one of those bigger items that if you can't have a main water, that's a big issue. Like how are they going to come and check to make sure that you're up to standard? That American water system, the American Water Company. Let's see what else. What else? So yeah, I know it's kind of boring. These reports are very big, but it does give you a lot of knowledge, a lot of help. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, not very much big things after that. What are the big things we saw? We saw main water valve missing. I'm sure it's somewhere in the house. He just couldn't find it. Um, Main power, electric power breaker was missing. That was one thing we fixed. I want to say we did something with the roof, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I'll have to remember. Man, it's been a while. I probably should have used one more recent, but I wanted to make sure that this has been a little while and I could get permission. So we'll definitely have to speak on this more. Let's see here. Yeah, and that's the end. So that is pretty much a gist on your inspection report. Any issues that you have in the future, definitely resort to the five major ones: your foundation, your structure, your roof, electrical, and plumbing. Those will be your major issues. If you have problems with those things, focus on them. Make sure you talk to the other party and tell them, hey, look, I understand we made these agreements, or I understand this and that. These are stuff I'm not going to accept. Or maybe, define your lines, see what you're willing to do. Some people are willing to do more than others. It's all about where you want to stand. There is no right answer. There is only you making your choices. I like to say business is an art more than an industry. So yeah, sorry if I was a bit monotone and dry on this one, guys. I was just trying to collect my thoughts here, trying to run through this with you. And hopefully next time we'll be a little bit more upbeat and ready to go. I appreciate everyone coming out onto our live stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Okay. So if you don't know, join our Discord and our WhatsApp to be able to be connected to everything we do. This is just something I do daily as a little tips and tricks of the trade. So definitely here to help you guys. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you later.